Yo, yo, what's going on, guys?
Dude, how you doing, Bryn?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Another day, you know.
Another day in paradise, right?
Yeah, another day in paradise. Yep, exactly.
How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing good, man. Been checking out I was watching the Vivid stream a second ago. That's why I was late.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were showing off, Cyber Seas Enigmas. I think I got like 5 of those. There's one I really like. Looks like a rainbow. And,
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah, it's really cool. But they're tied to my on-chain monkeys. I got one tied to a bitmap, so really cool stuff.
Dude, that's cool. I love it. I was happy we talked about it yesterday, and I think we'll get Gerard in here for a stream to talk about Vivid maybe next week, which would be great. I think it's a really cool platform, for sure. I think it's beautiful, especially for a lot of the art on Bitcoin, like even the either one-of-one or limited collections. I think the more expensive non-PFPs, it's really breathtaking for. I've never seen it for another kind, but really neat stuff overall. But why are you smiling, Matt?
I'm posting to Hafka, but he had his cat like screensavers, but on his computers, and I already had one on. I put one on it like the other day when I said on stream, told him on stream it would be good as a screensaver or whatever, but I didn't want to like comment on it because I didn't want to. Is he selling those?
I don't know. I've been talking to him back and forth a little bit, and we got some cool stuff coming up with him.
It's just
actually
such
really cool stuff.
Art. I just was like, saved the photo and just put it on there. I like looking at his art. So.
Yeah, me too. He's definitely one of my favorite in the space. And we usually start off with a little bit of a market update, and I think obviously today is an interesting one. We got I'm pulling up the chart here, but down 5% since yesterday at this time. That's pretty wild. I think we were up at like 86, almost 87 yesterday at this time, if I remember correctly. Could be off. And now we're sub 82. So we can get into the why, but first, how long do you think this narrative stays in place, Matt?
Well, I think the whole Trump, messing things up. We're going to hear that from people. I agree with a lot of things, but I'll give you my reasoning on it.
Well, hold on. I want to get into the reasoning in a second. I guess what I know it's putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
But how long do you think that the market will react this way? Do you think it's a hit right now and then it's priced in, or do you think this is a long one?
I'll trade like 5% of my bag. I sold before you even started talking, but I think it recovers maybe in a couple trading sessions. Okay, now I'll tell. So I'm sure people are thinking like, "What the heck? This is bearish attack." But the more destruction. That's why he didn't give any clarity in his speech, right? That's why kept uncertainty in the market participants' eyes. And so, there's one thing that the market doesn't like is uncertainty. So I think that's on purpose. I think tariffs for the capital markets, like the legacy markets and the crypto markets, are like literally a net zero. Like they, but analysts think they're terrible, which is good. So they're using it as an advantage, I believe. So, but I will agree that, of course, there's got to be these are plans that it's not just Trump's plan to put tariffs or match tariffs or even out how much people are putting tariffs on us for imports and exports. We put it out there, level out the playing field, and then possibly be able to negotiate so other countries take them down. I get that, but obviously that there's it's a much bigger plan, right, than just tariffs. So I do agree that the cost, some of the costs, depending on how much they pass that cost on to us as what are the imports and how much they mark up their prices for us to buy their products. Obviously, that's like a market view. If there's something else available that's not imported, we would just choose that. So whatever. I'll be interested to see exactly how much certain things are actually obviously cost more after these tariffs go into effect, especially with China being above 50% or something. So, but I do agree that it is terrible for small businesses. It's in the short term before whatever fix, right? Because it all kind of depends on if there's another fix that Trump and the rest of his administration have a plan to kind of even this out for the middle class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the actual business economy, small businesses in general, and jobs and stuff like that. So, but for the average citizen, I do think that it's definitely destructive, and it's going to be tougher times unless there's a fix, right? But I think overall it's going to be tougher times. So I do agree with that. That's not what I'm here to talk about. About that, I don't even care to talk about that part. That to destroy the middle class, I believe, has been in the works for decades and decades and decades. So it's not just Trump. But anyway, Trump's speech or the tariffs, started with Mexico and Canada, maybe because they didn't have such an effect as when he talked about China and the rest of these tariffs going out. These had a much bigger effect. I think that's on purpose. The more uncertainty you can cause into the market, the faster, with all these other things that are happening. We've got a war. We've got a kinetic war with Yemen. We've got a potential war with Iran, whatever. But there is nothing better. I'm not for wars, but this is just the way that they look at it. There's not one better way to bring more money into the system, and create more liquidity in a war that's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, probably a day to fight. And then also, if the market's not doing well, that's just another reason to have to start stimulating to avoid the seizing of money velocity. And then, we could get to a point to literally all transactions stop. And so this, with the market going down like this, I believe that the stock market will find buyers soon, because smart money knows that that's what's coming. We've got lowering of interest rates going all the way through 2027. We've got a perfect scenario for a large amount of liquidity to be injected into the system. So, I mean, it's all very positive for the financial markets.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure I understand it correctly, right? So, it was the big news last night, the big graph that came out, all that kind of stuff. And it's party line, right? A lot of people on the right love it. A lot of people on the left hate it, just like anything else. And I think the biggest clamor that I heard, or the biggest outcry, was, everything's about to get super, super expensive. This is going to, like you said, be very destructive to the middle class and all of that, right? So I tried to, get some more details on what that is, right? Because depending on what news outlet you go to, you're going to see different, economists or projections, right? But in going through it, what I'm reading is economists estimate either from 0.5 to 2.2 percentage point bump in core inflation, right? Assuming there's a baseline of a 2 to 3, that could be anywhere from 2.5 to 5% inflation, right? So, as a part of the existing inflation kind of trajectory that we're generally on, right? So if you take that 0.5 to 2.2%, if you're looking at the median household income, which is 74K, and obviously mean is going to be a little bit lower than that, is you're talking about probably an extra $1,400 to $2,500 that it'll cost them in a worst case scenario, right? That's not taking anything else into effect, right? So it's going to cost the average income, let's say $1,000 or $2,000. And to me, okay, number one is that, again, that's static and not reflective of any upside by the end of the year or in the future. And it also doesn't take into account, the other benefits aside the economic benefits or the financial benefits that this provides, right? So number one is, I think if you're on the right or left, you have a different opinion, but long-term, this is good. A conservative would say long-term, this is good. Short-term, it's going to be painful. Well, it's painful to about $1,000 or $2,000 per income, right? And long term, number one is, I think that, if there is an increase in demand, let's say in manufacturing in the US, let's say it's cars or whatever, even foreign automobiles that are manufactured here, Toyota, et cetera, it's going to be an uptick in jobs, right? That won't be right away. You're also going to see businesses that will manufacture here simply for a financial reason that they don't feel like dealing with tariffs, so they might start production here, right? Leads to more jobs, more revenue overall. And, aside from all that, you kind of are repositioning the US into the position it should be in, even just logically. You saw they call them reciprocal tariffs. It wasn't exactly reciprocal. The math wasn't, the math wasn't entirely, representative of tariffs that are placed on us, but the imbalance nonetheless is still there. We're getting tariffs at a much higher rate than a lot of these countries that depend on us entirely, or at least dramatically more than we depend on anybody else. And I think it is a bet for others to bleed before we blink. And to me, it looks like that's going to be the case. I mean, these tariffs on some countries are borderline debilitating, right? And they're going to be in a lot more pain than we are. And I wonder if concessions are made, not even financially, right? Mexico was with the border. You have a lot of, I think tech interference coming out of Asia. You even can look at the EU and look at things like funding for NATO, et cetera. Does it get them to kind of fall in line with a lot of the other things that are going on? And could that reduce that tariff? Or is this something where they better do that and the tariffs are staying? Either way, I feel like it kind of right sizes our position rather than being taken advantage of, which I think is why a lot of people on the right are probably excited about it.
Yeah, I think he comes in high with the tariffs, hopefully, and hoping they lower their tariffs and we lower ours, and then then there's then it's more fair. But I don't think, I mean, there's been several large corporations or businesses saying that they're going to come and manufacture here in the U.S. again. But I think that those are just kind of like they've stated they will. So all that stuff is just like we've got to wait and see. We got to wait and see how well all this works. So yeah, I'm hopeful, but it's just something that we got to just wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, you look at who will be affected the most, right? Legislation last night with Canada, kind of, I guess we'll see where that lands. But I mean, Mexico sends 80% of their exports to us. Canada 75%. China is exports $500 billion to the U.S., which is 16.5% of our imports, and now they're going to get taxed 60%. I mean, that's massive. Germany as well, especially automotively. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're you saw Canada's reaction to tariffs the first time, which was I would say panic. And you're going to have a lot of nations panicking at once. I don't think it's as linear as this is just an economic move. I think it's a flex, and I don't know. It's interesting. You even see, and I saw it going around the internet last night a bit, and then I did some research into it, and there isn't a ton of detail, but this idea that the IRS could be replaced with the ERS, right? So external revenue, meaning that the same kind of emphasis placed on our own citizens is going to be placed on these foreign countries, and making sure that they're compliant with tariffs, et cetera. I mean, to me, just again, philosophically, from a 30,000-foot view, I feel like that's the way it should be. And I feel like it's far more American than having agencies breathing down citizens' throats. So symbolically, I'm down for all of it. And if those numbers are correct, where you're going to see a CPI index go up, maybe 2 points, and inflation maybe increase a 0.5 percentage point to 2.5 percentage points. It seems like there's a lot of upside for that pain, even in the short term, but definitely in the long term.
So you're talking about like consumer spending.
Yeah.
Well, so I think it was last week, consumer spend. Well, first they came out and said inflation is just 0.02% above what we first thought what our expectations were going to be for this month, and then they said that's good because consumer spending is up, and so consumer confidence is up, and so the economy is doing good. But that's kind of like an oxymoron. It's like, well, consumer spending was up because prices were higher. I mean, they didn't have a choice. They wanted to buy a loaf of bread for $2, but now they have to spend $3. It's like, that's why consumer spending was up. I don't know, whatever. The language in their reporting is just like hilarious to me. But anyway, it's all part of the game. It's all to um, get us off of worrying about inflation. And now it's tariffs, and then soon it's going to be saving the economy, or the war. And so now we need to just the the Fed offloading mortgage-backed securities. So that's a form of not tightening anymore, and then using that money to buy U.S. Treasuries back onto their balance sheet, is massively stimulus for the economy, for the financial system. And so we're just gonna have we're gonna have a lot of dollars coming, and a lot of easy money. It's going to be great for the stock markets. It's going to be terrible for inflation, and that's what it's going to be. I mean, it's just the way we've been kicking this can down the road. They've got to come up with creative ways to keep on debasing the purchasing power of the dollar.
Well, yeah, and just like I guess maybe even the last thing on this topic, or at least on this part of the topic, is, so we're talking about a 2 to 3 point baseline with inflation in general, right? And you're talking about this causing an additional 0.5 to 2.2 or 2, right? So let's say even on the high side, you're talking about 4.5 percentage points this year that it'll go up, right? Well, if you look at it in context, in 2021, we're up 4.7%. In 2022, we're up 8%. In 2023, we're up 4.1%. Even last year, we're in 2024, cooling down at about 3.5%. That's probably about where we'll be. So, like, if you look at it in relative to previous years, the outcry about it, I don't think it's going to be any different than probably it's slightly better, specifically maybe even half of what 2022 inflation was. And and the people, it is so political because both sides do this. But the group that's the maddest now wasn't mad at 8% inflation, but we're really, really pissed off. It might be 4.5 this year.
Well, no, you're right. Whether those numbers, how true, how honestly reported those numbers are, whatever, they're probably pretty close. But the Fed will be able to say that they got close to their 2% mandate, right? Their 2% inflation rate mandate. And so they got to 3% or something. And so they'll be able to leave that narrative and comfortably, and everybody will be okay with it. And it's, the show goes on. So it's really good. It's really, I'm just saying good, not for the average person, but good for people that are in assets, or in the crypto market or in the stock market. I mean, you've got to play the game. You've got to be in assets. You can't be in the dollar.
Yeah, and just to give context, in terms of who's saying the 0.5 to 2.2, it's Moody's Analytics and Oxford Economics are both saying the same exact figure, right? Because I guess they're using the same model. So I think that is pseudo consensus. Obviously, some sectors are much bigger, and this doesn't take into account. Yeah, so you're going to see a massive uptick in, let's say automotive, because it's a high ticket item. If people make the alternative decision to buy domestically, it's not going to reach that same number. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know how long it'll affect I feel like it'll have a shorter, at least not to say not as large, but just a shorter effect on the crypto markets, and potentially a little longer in traditional markets. I was looking as of about 25 minutes ago, Dow's down 1,400, S&P loses 4%. So I know that they're tied together in terms of crypto, and more or less tied in this kind of scenario to the crypto markets. But I don't know how long that'll last.
Well, crypto is actually it looks like the stock market's reacting worse to the news than the crypto markets, and maybe it's because people are finding safety in crypto more so than I know they're finding safety in gold, but they're not finding safety in the dollar, which is usually the case. But yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel like there's going to be, I think there's some silver lining, like you're saying, if people find refuge in the crypto markets. I agree, and I just feel like coming out of this kind of news, is there going to be, because it's already been talked about, some sort of stimulus, right? So if it's affecting the median income, $1,500, is there a stimulus that's larger than that? Not that that doesn't cause more inflation, but it offsets maybe some of that pain. I guess we'll see.
Well, that's not really what raises the markets. It's
Oh, I'm not talking about raising the markets. I think I'm talking about just offsetting any of the inflationary impact.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because people save that money, like most of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think the uncertainty that Trump, the language he used, was actually good because it just brought more fear into the markets. It makes it so Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trump and even people on the other side of the aisle can get their lower interest rates this next Fed meeting. They already laid the groundwork. It's going to bring easing policy faster than later, and so I think it's a good thing.
What are your thoughts, Sean?
Give us your honest opinion, Sean.
I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it hurts the little guy. He's not, and more than it's going to hurt anyone else. And there's no sense to it, in my opinion. There's no, it's not calculated at all. It's just broad strokes. And I mean, I saw China's 56% or 54%, but if they buy oil from Venezuela, it goes up another 25%. So almost everything we get in this country is from China. And so we're just going to be paying a lot more. I feel like we're getting double taxed.
So, oh, I'm sorry. Audio and something got a little bubbly there.
No, I think Sean. I agree with Sean on that. I just what other way are they going to do it? Like, I almost feel like Democrats would be partly trying to do it some type of this way in a different. I mean, you got to bring more money into the system somehow.
Yeah, I hear you, but like, why are we extending these huge tax cuts to the richest people on the planet and not, doing something and cutting all these like services for the poorest people in our country? So it just seems out of whack to me.
Well, Sean, the one thing because we talked about it obviously last night, where I think we agreed at least a little bit, was in in seeing, and maybe you were well aware, but I think maybe most people were a little surprised, but in looking at the imbalance in the tariffs. I mean, that is a little, I'd say almost shocking, right? I think the way that we're treated, I think that's where a lot of the, I guess, enthusiasm or emotion comes from. Is we provide a lot, yet we have we're getting higher tariffs placed on us than we're placing on others, and that does seem odd. Now, I think I think the argument would be there's different ways to go about it. Do you do it I guess more gently or with more precision or whatever? But to a point, it's almost like I feel like nothing else is. We're here after decades and decades of this type of kind of either trade agreements or just agreements in general. I don't know. Would people prefer it goes slower? Are people okay with us kind of losing on these things? I don't know.
I mean, these Mexico and Canada tariffs are they're Trump's tariffs. He put them in place. It's from a deal he signed with them. He got rid of NAFTA and signed whatever it's called. And now he's not okay with the deal he made.
Yeah, no, I get it. But also, like, just even in like looking at this in dealing with, even in business, dealing with suppliers, like the big fish usually wins, right? They usually get what they want because you need them. I mean, that is kind of the MO of a free market to an extent. Like, should you always honor this? Yeah, but you also need to win. And I think that's how we got into this position to begin with. So I don't know if that bothers me as much.
Yeah, I think it was to shake things up so he could justify when he announced the tariffs on the other countries. I don't know. Who knows the game plan on that? But isn't really the tariffs to offset the? I guess we need to borrow or raise the country's debt from like 36 trillion to, I guess we'll borrow like $5 trillion, and we bring in 3. And if we bring in 1 with tariffs and then 1 with Doge, then we can kind of balance things. And is that to raise the debt ceiling so they can? I don't know, but I'm sure there's a formula to it. I'm just not sure.
I mean, we didn't get into ordinals at all yet, and I'm going to pull that up now.
Yeah, we should probably get into it.
Totally, because I mean, it's affected. Everything's affected, right? Bitcoin goes down. You know, the comparative value goes down in and of itself. And let me see. I'm pulling up here now. There we are. You guys see my screen? Yeah. I mean, Jesus. I don't know what Bitcoin shrooms are, but everything else is down almost double digits across the board. So it's even if you scroll through the top 25, you see a handful that are up. We got idiots up 17%, which we talked about yesterday. The Trump Bitcoin digital trading cards are up 16, but everything else is down pretty bad. I'm checking the Taproot Wizards, which has been a story everybody's talking about. Let's see. You know, they're, I guess, down. What were they? They came out of the gates at 20K, right? Is that how much they are?
0.2 Bitcoin if you had a cat, and it was more than that if you didn't.
If you didn't have a cat, do you know what it was?
I think it went up to like 0.31 or 3.4, somewhere in there.
So I guess even conservatively, you'd be how much 0.3 if they're
$30,000 or for
no, because Bitcoin wasn't at 100 grand then. It was what, 85. So
34,
85
0.34.
Yeah, it's like it's above 20. It's like 26%, 27%, or 26, 27K, right? So they're down pretty bad from that. I don't know. Yesterday they were up, I think, like 12 points or something. But yeah, rough day.
Hey, Sean, do you know if so? Okay, so all the are these floor prices that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, so do the floor prices only go down? Oh, okay, so and then these are priced in Bitcoin, right? So if nobody sold any, or if nobody added listed any more lowering the floor price, then the Ordinal ecosystem would only go down as much as the same percentage as Bitcoin went down, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's tied to Bitcoin, but you know, it's the lowest one listed is the floor price.
Okay. So there's some fear in the market, and some people will list and lower the floor. They'll just list lower than the floor price.
Yeah, I think that's correct, right? I mean, that's all they need to do. You got to like sweep the floor and then set a new floor price is kind of the strategy, right? Or at least have enough buys and enough community members stacking it so you can kind of create create that kind of artificial floor prices. I think that's right.
Well, yeah. If you want the floor price to be higher, the collection, if you want that chart to go up, then yeah, somebody needs to sweep the floor, and then there needs to be a higher, the lowest priced ordinal would be cost more Bitcoin than the chart would go up, because there's no liquidity pools. So it's not like the reasons why like Ethereum and other layer ones will go down relative to Bitcoin going down is because exchanges are holding liquidity pools with those pairs in them. There's dexes holding liquidity pools. And so those ratios, they go down based off, the pools that they're bonded with. And so, yeah, anyway, so it's just a different, there's no pools within the Bitcoin and ordinals. It's just the cost of.
No, just the market dictates it all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, what else. I mean, everything seems down pretty bad. I think projects like Enigma probably would be, more resilient. But I guess it'll largely go the way Bitcoin goes, right? I mean, I think all of the floor prices relative to dollars, I believe. So it's not because Bitcoin down it's because Bitcoin's down that a lot of these are down. If Bitcoin's down 5%, that would affect all of these, right? And some of them that are down more, most are down sort of within that threshold, right? So it's down because Bitcoin's down, with the exception of Taproot and Quantum Cats and some of these others. Pizza Ninjas is down, but it was up so high yesterday. I think it was up almost double digits. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're saying maybe by end of week you think things could potentially be back in the markets, Matt? Is that what you're saying?
I just think at some point, sooner than later, I think all this is stock market positive. That's my opinion. It may sound crazy. I know that's not the major consensus out there, but that's what, just like in a macro view, that's what it's looking very positive for risk assets.
I mean, I hope so. And I don't know how long it takes to rebound, but it's interesting. Sean, have you seen anything new coming out? I had sent a text earlier. I don't know if you guys saw anything new coming out in ordinals or being talked about.
Just that Eternals mints tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time, but I think it said like 18 hours from now it mints.
Can we find them, pull them up?
It's on if you go to Mint Launchpad.
Mint.launchpad, how does it?
On the top, just go to Mint of your screen there. Launchpad. That's everything that's minting right now. So if you go, if you hit Enigma's got a few more. It looks like they released 200 more.
Okay.
And they have about 90 or 89 left to sell. But it looks like in 3 minutes they're gonna move to anyone in the public can get one. So that'll probably mint out really quick. And then our terminals, if you click on that, it'll show you.
What are you saying to click on?
Like the Bitcoin Eternals right there. If you click on, just click on that. That's the mint page for Magic Eden. You can see that there's 18 hours and 4 minutes left for I guess probably whatever that says, and then VIP and then public. So it goes in stages. And it tells you your wallet's eligible or not.
How many? Is it a 10,000 collection or?
I think it's 4,444.
Yep. Yeah, and they're at 0.0044, which is what, about $350? Is that right?
Yeah. It's a lot of money for that collection if they mint it out.
Well, they mint it out. Yeah, that's good. Good for them. Success.
Yeah,
they didn't yet, I guess, right?
Well, they're close, aren't they?
I think so. And
yeah,
Sean, this is the project that you got in as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to. There's just a few left from people who had. I guess they got them for free. The claim. What's it at 98%? So I think after this clock runs out in 1 day and 11 hours, then they'll reveal your horses.
Okay.
You can buy those already on the secondary too.
What was wasn't there like one of the kind of the original Ethereum plays was one of these kind of ideas, right? With the horses.
Yeah.
What was that called?
I never got into it, but I remember it.
Yeah, it was like kind of like the Shining Star example very early on. I think it was betting on your horses, they raced, etc. And I remember when I came in, that was one of the largest narratives out there, I believe.
I know, and the games are like so simple, like yeah, like Pizza Ninja's game looks more. There's more put into it, right? That just by glancing over it.
I think,
But yeah, it's just amazing how simple those games were last cycle.
Yeah, looking at their website, seems pretty cool. They're gonna have a rune that goes along with it that you can, I guess, trade out for these diamonds or whatever. And then there's you can breed these things, race. You can lend them. I think you can stake them to get more runes. And if you have a herd, then I think that's a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star. Then you can do a lot more, I guess, or you get more rewards. But I don't know. We'll see. I saw a video of the racetrack and what it looks like, and it looked pretty cool to me.
And so this collection's at a little over 4,000, right? So they're almost done. And what was, I'm sure, I think you already said it, Sean, but what was the cost? What was to get in, or was it just a claim?
It was like really cheap, like $50 or something, I want to say.
Okay, so they moved it. Do these guys have like an existing collection or community, or did they kind of bootstrap this? How do you hear about it?
I heard about it through, I think through On-Chain Monkey, but there's, some like, I think there's some Pizza Ninjas behind it. But it's a bunch of developers. I think they also got funding, VC funding. So I kind of expect it to be a cool game.
Because I didn't see it. Did you see it? I didn't see it marketed too much on X, but I've also been kind of, no pun intended, had horse blinders on for the last few days. So I didn't see much about it. And I also don't, what is this? What is this? There's not much. It's only 50 here and there. Yeah, they're nothing. Yeah, I haven't seen much on that. It's interesting when you see 4,000 of anything move, even if it is $50, to generate that attention's tough, especially for something relatively novel. So I was wondering if they had some sort of either, marketing budget or an existing community, because that's a heavy lift.
Well, if Pizza Ninjas was in it, they're a pretty big community.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you're right. I think Trevor from Pizza Ninjas has like essentially a VC group, if I'm not, or at least makes smaller dollar investments in a lot of these brands. So that could easily be what it is.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seems, Sean, is it always in this launch pad where you see most of the stuff come up? Is that?
Yeah. Unless it's like on Vivid or a different mint site, but anything is on Magic Eden, you can kind of go here and see what's going on, what's coming.
Yeah,
so
I'm curious.
I kind of check this like every day or two just to see what's going on, keep my finger on the pulse a little bit.
Yeah, and I wonder, do they pick this up, and you would just apply to be on the page, or is this a pay to play thing?
They have if you go to like create at the top, I haven't gone through with it, but you can create an ordinal collection. You can inscribe a single picture. I've done that before, just to mint something on my own, you know.
Yeah.
But they have a creator dashboard as well, and I think you got to log in, and then it helps you put the whole collection on Magic Eden.
Got it. Yeah, I didn't. I just clicked it. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but yeah, it seems. Yeah, because I know like if you're doing the kind of meme coin to advertise on any of those exchanges was expensive, but I feel like the Bitcoin or the Ordinal or the NFT space is far less inundated with new things coming out because it takes a little bit of effort to put together a collection, have a narrative, and some sort of purpose. So yeah, maybe it isn't the same kind of pay to play model. But
can I share my screen? I wanted to show something real quick.
Oh yeah, you got it.
I can do it. There we go. Does that work?
Yep. You're up.
So I have this little device called an umbrella, and it's been sitting at my house for a while. So I brought it to my office so I can mess with a whole lot more because at home I'm busy with family. But right now I'm syncing a Bitcoin node on it, which is pretty cool. I'm at 16%. I'm connected to 9 peers. So when this is done, I'm going to add the Ordinals app to it where you can subscribe through your own node. And then there's a couple, there's like block explorers you can add to this and stuff. It's me just, trying to learn a little bit about, Bitcoin and how things work, how things are programmed in. So once this is done syncing, it'll show each block, and then I can add some more apps, and you can add, your wallet to it. You can, run your own transactions through your own node. So you're not relying on a third party. You can do them all by yourself on your own. So we'll have to play around with this a little bit more when it gets finished, but I just wanted to show everyone that.
Well, how does that work? So let's say once you're all synchronized and locked in, it starts to kind of work it to complete blocks. Is that do you see like an incremental? If you join a pool, that averages out a bit, right? But if you leave this independent, it will either kind of hit or miss.
It just validates blocks. It's not a miner; it's a node. So you can't earn a block from it like you can mining, but it's just the more nodes that are running on Bitcoin, the more decentralized it is. It's just like a validator. But I did buy one of those BitX miners, those little guys that it's only one chip. It's not like an ASIC. It's cheap, but you can hook it in with your node here and run it through there, and you might have a little bit better chance of getting a block. There was one, I think 2 weeks ago, that a guy got a single miner got the entire block through a BitX miner. So he got like three Bitcoin plus the fees. It was like 3.15 Bitcoin. So I'm going to run it more like I'm not going to join a pool. I'm just going to gamble. It's basically a lottery ticket, and let it go for the next few years and see what happens.
So with your BitX, I guess that's more what I was talking about. So with that one, you can join a pool and you get incremental, right? But if you are kind of leaving it outside of a pool, what is the reward? Do you get smaller amounts repeatedly, or do you kind of just wait and get rewarded if it does get a block?
Yeah, the only way I get rewarded on my own is if it mined a block on its own, and the reward right now is 3 Bitcoin per block. So you get all of that, and then you get whatever fees were going on in that transaction. Like when you buy an ordinal, you play however many sats the mempools at that moment, and so all those feeds add up as well, and so you get those as well. I mean, it's more like playing the lottery, but it's again you're messing around with the blockchain and learning and yeah. So I'm also going to install the Ordinals protocol onto this once it's finished, and you can inscribe through your own node, and you don't have to rely on like a Magic Eden or something.
Got it. Dude, that's cool. It's like it is like a lottery ticket. It feels engaged. Does it give you an interface like this where you can see what's going on, or no?
Yeah, it'll give me an interface, and I'll be able to run it through this node. And I guess the next step I got to do is set up a wallet, and there's lots of maybe I can switch to. Maybe I can switch to. Here, let's see. Switch to. There we go. See it, Chris.
So are you essentially decentralizing the network more?
Yeah, and like when the Ordinals market was real competitive and stuff, people were talking about running their own nodes to get in faster to get the drops and stuff. But you can see there's so here's my node. That's the only app I have on there right now. But you can there's a lot of decentralized things. I was looking at what was it? These I didn't know what a Noster was. So I was looking at that earlier. It's basically like a decentralized Twitter, decentralized like a working with your friends type of deal, sending messages. But going back to the Bitcoin stuff. So there's a Noster Wallet Connect, a Monero node you could run. You can show the mempool on there. And where's the ordinals? So here you run your own ordinal inscription explorer, kind of like Ord.io, any of the ordinal viewers, but you can search blocks, and then you can create your own, manage inscriptions and more. So gonna play around with this and do kind of like just trying to learn a little bit more about the block and how it operates and what's going on. So doing my part to keep the Bitcoin network decentralized as much as possible.
Amen, man. That's cool. I mean, I love the BitAct. That's really, really cool.
I think that's coming today. So once I get that node finished and that set up, we can take a look at it.
So if enough people own one of these or run one of these, would it speed up the blocks, or like how, or would it unclog the network, help unclog the networks, like when collection launches and also the network is congested from a lot of transactions on Bitcoin itself?
I don't think it can help make it any faster. It just is what it is. Bitcoin's meant for 10-minute blocks, basically.
Or I guess lower the fees, the transaction fees.
Those are all based on what it is on the mempool. So it's basically how much data is going to each block at a time, and is what drives fees.
No matter how many nodes are out there.
You're asking the wrong person, but I think it is what it is. There's people have those giant fields of mining machines, trying to get little pieces of the pie here and there. It basically is to monitor. Here's this Ultimately, a full node will serve two key purposes: to monitor the health and security of a Bitcoin blockchain and validating the accuracy of transactions. So you're just doing your part by running one. It helps strengthen the network. So we're all about Bitcoin. So let's help strengthen it.
That's what makes Bitcoin so valuable. It's the strongest, most secure network on the planet.
Exactly.
Amen. Well, we're at the hour here. Let's I don't know. I got like 7 screens up getting our UX UI done, and half distracted because I want to get that done this week. So I don't know if there's anything you guys want to close out with or what, but I'm gonna hop back on this.
No, I'm good.
Right on. All
Have
right,
a
cool.
beautiful day.
We'll be back tomorrow. See you guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.